So I want to talk a little bit about what happened in Sydney, Australia tonight. Um, so I do have family there, very distant relative, and it's a very sad story, and I'll explain why. So my grandmother, may she rest in peace, was one of 7 brothers and sisters in Slovakia, which is part of Czechoslovakia, when the Nazis invaded. My grandmother came to the land of Israel in 1941, thanks to my grandfather's mother, who already was in Israel from 1933. As soon as Hitler came to power, she left. And then she was able to get them visas to come to Israel. But my grandmother was the only one from 7 brothers and sisters who was a Zionist. And she admired Theodor Herzl. And so she persuaded her husband. Her husband also was a Zionist, of course, because his mother was already here. May they all rest in peace. And so my grandmother was the only one who survived, and she was in trauma for her whole life. She was talking about it. She's the only one who survived, and at the end of the war, she was able to locate 2 nephews and a niece. They all were in concentration camps in Auschwitz, and they all were severely hurt by that, as you can imagine. And one of them went to Australia, and she wrote a book from Auschwitz to Australia. And she lived in Sydney, Australia. She was very active in the Holocaust Museum. And I was able to find her through my dog, Shiva. She was, somebody pet her from Sydney, and they knew of her. And I found through the Holocaust Museum of Sydney, Australia, I was able to find the address, the email address, and I wrote the daughter. The daughter is around my age of this woman, who was around my mother's age, my mother would have been, God rest her soul. So she wrote me a little note. She offered to sell me the book, which I clearly saw as a sign she's related to me, because this is my family, merchants all the way, so not me though. And then I didn't have much contact. I lost my phone, I lost the email, I wrote the Holocaust Museum, they didn't answer me again. I said, I lost the address, the email, can you give me the email again? Or no. So then I didn't hear from them. And then I was during the war, was it during the war? Yeah, I met a very nice Australian guy who knew my cousin, the grandson of my mother's cousin. And he gave me his email. He was one of his best friends. Came to Israel during the war, and he gave me the address. And I wrote him, and he wrote me one email, and then maybe I did too much, and I said to him, don't you think what's happening in Sydney, Australia reminds you of what happened in Europe to your grandmother and my grandmother during the Holocaust, the same kind of atmosphere for Jews? And then he didn't write me anymore. Maybe he was offended. I still kept in touch with a nice guy from Sydney, Australia, and I am going to write him tonight. I'm going to ask how he's doing. And my daughter does live in New Zealand, and she was just in a Chabad event, and she's very shaken from what happened, obviously. She also lived in Australia for a while, and she knows all these places. I think it's a tragedy for humanity when people behave like that. When you open fire at people celebrating a holiday. It's they keep saying, oh, it's Zionists. Chabad are absolutely not telling people to come to Israel. They're telling people to be a light and to celebrate life and to be a light to all nations. I want to tell you that I burst into tears when I found out, because I didn't look in my phone, to be honest. I was busy, and my daughter told me there was I didn't know what it was, but I didn't have a time to look. I was in a hurry to get to my dog, because my dog is dependent on medication. I'm now also going to get her medication, and I just didn't have time. I didn't have time to look at the phone, at the news, and I don't have a TV. And then when I found out, it was when we went to the candle lighting, and I looked at the phone and I saw it and I started to cry, and I went to the rabbi and I said, I'm really sorry to hear what happened to you, to the Chabad, and it's amazing how you continue, but this is their spirit, they, no matter what, they will continue. And of course the atmosphere was completely different. And I have to say there were not a lot of people there as usual. I don't know why. I guess people are in shock. How many massacres do we have to undergo? How many massacres are we going to have to undergo before it stops? This is clearly not connected to Israel, and it's clearly connected to a stream of extremists, jihadists, who just want to massacre as many Jews as possible. And it's an international jihadist movement that one day will be in Sydney, Australia, another time it will be in Germany. And, they keep saying, it's Israel, but it's not Israel, because these people are absolutely connected to Judaism first and foremost. And to attack Jews celebrating a holiday of lights and hope is just a despicable act of anti-Semitism of the worst kind. And it's not a surprise, because they were, it's just like the Holocaust. There were warning signs. There are people, religious leaders of extremist religious leaders that are allowed to say horrific things about Jews, and they threaten, and then they do. And I don't know, it's a horrible feeling, because I had a bad feeling today. And it's not just because my daughter is not here, it's just I had a bad feeling today. I don't know, it's also because we're all still recovering from all the massacres of the war and everything, and it's I don't think people are, we're all getting over what happened to us on October 7th and throughout the years, it's we're deeply scarred, and it's another thing we'll have to get over, that's for sure. Thank God we have dogs. Yeah, dogs are the best. Cats and dogs and animals are so sweet, and they don't have any evil in them, evil inclinations. They don't massacre other animals just because they don't want them to live. So I'm now going to look for medicine for my dog, and I'm really down to the last pills, and I don't know what to do, but then what can you do? What can you do? I don't know. And the buses don't stop. I think I'm just going to walk, because I'm very agitated, and it's the best way I can do is just to walk. So sad for children growing up here in this world today that have to grow up with violence. Any child, that has to grow up in a world that's so full of violence and hate. And we really do have to be a light. It doesn't matter what religion you are, you should be a light for the darkness, as Martin Luther King said. He was quoting somebody else that said, light a candle instead of curse the darkness. And that also comes from Judaism, whose ideal is to be a light, not to curse the darkness. So it's going to end with a positive symbol of hope. I'm really sad, and pray for all the people that are injured to get better, and among them children, and just as Gandhi said, an eye for an eye makes everybody blind. There is no no excuse for acts of violence. Yeah. Anyway.